What's up, guys? Downtown991 here, bringing you another 5th gen Pokemon battle on Pokemon Showdown. This is a match I had a little while ago, and I thought I'd record it for you. It was a pretty good battle. I'm using this new replay thing they have in Pokemon Showdown, or at least it's new to me. I don't know if I might have had it for longer, but anyways, here we go. So I'm on the other side of the screen, and my opponent's on the front side here. I lead with my Jellicent as he leads with his Infernape, and he switches into his Ferrothorn. I go for the Scald. And it doesn't get the burn, but that's alright, because I can just go for the Will-O-Wisp. But actually, I go for the Taunt this turn, I believe. Yeah, I don't want him setting up anything, because that's what Ferrothorns do, and he can't Leech Seed me, which is good, so I'm predicting him to switch out. And he does, and he switches out into his Vaporeon, and I go for the Will-O-Wisp, which is really good, because Vaporeon is really bulky, and any damage on the Vaporeon is good damage. I go for the Taunt, which stops him from going for the Toxic, which is really good. I was kind of surprised it outsped, but it depends what sets you're running on Vaporeon, I guess. Anyway, so I'm predicting him to switch because he can't touch me with Water Absorb and stuff like that. So I go for the Will-O-Wisp again, hoping he brings this Latias, which he does, which is nice because now I get a burn on the Latias, which, again, bulky Pokemon, good to get some consistent damage on it. He goes for the Dragon Pulse as I bring in my Ferrothorn, and I'm going to get my Rocks up because Rocks is the best move in the game, free damage, and all that stuff. And so he brings out his own Ferrothorn as I go for my Stealth Rocks, and here I'm predicting him to go for his Stealth Rocks, but in hindsight this was a risky play and it doesn't really work out for me that well, so I bring in my Salamence predicting his Stealth Rocks, but instead he goes for the Thunder Wave and pretty much cripples my Salamence, because now it's not going to be able to outspeed pretty much anything at all, really. So I go for the Fire Blast, he goes for the Protect, and obvious switch back into his Vaporeon, so I was going for the Outrage, but I get paralyzed, and that would probably, I don't know if that would KO'd after the burn damage, but it would have been pretty low in HP. So he goes for the Wish, and I'm thinking, oh, come on, Outrage, nope, paralyzed again. Which is unfortunate, because now I'm sure I probably would have been able to KO this thing. So he goes for the Scald, and I'm actually able to finally hit through Paralysis and go for my Outrage, which is good. I mean, I almost KO it, but it gets half of its health back due to the Wish, and after the burn, it's at, like, just under half, and I feel like I can, if I can get one more Outrage to connect, I can take this thing out. He goes for the Protect as I go for my second Outrage, and he's still pretty low in HP, and he tries to go for the double Protect and fails, and I get paralyzed, which was really annoying, but I'm just going for my Outrage, hoping that I can hit through this paralysis, and I am finally able to, and kill off his Vaporeon, which is good, because that thing would have been pretty annoying to deal with. And so he switches into his Latias. I'm not sure why I didn't get confused there. Might have been a glitch, but he just kills me off with his Dragon Pulse, so it really didn't have any effect on the battle. Anyway, so I bring in my Latias, which is Starved, and then I'm going to go for the Draco Meteor, trying to force out his Latias, and I go for the Draco Meteor. He goes for the Protect, so this is obviously one of those bulky Latiases. I'm not exactly sure what set it was running. I was fearing Calm Mindset, just because those sets are pretty good and they're hard to beat. So I go into my Lucario as he switches into his Ferrothorn, probably to take the Draco Meteor. And I switch out because I don't want to get that thing to get paralyzed as he goes for the Protect. And I switch out to my Mamoswine. Here I'm going to go for the Superpower as he switches into his Togekiss. And I do some good damage to his Togekiss, and now Togekiss isn't exactly the most, it's decently bulky, I think. But anyways, at 35% HP, I thought I could KO it with Ice Shard, but just barely not to. I don't know exactly how much HP it had left, but it had 1%, and he goes for the Roost and gets back half his HP, so I'm going to have to switch out because I don't want to be taking Air Slashes or whatnot from this thing. And he goes for the Thunder Wave as I switch into my Ferrothorn. I'm like, it's one of those Serene Grace, para-flinching Togekisses. So he goes for the Air Slash, and it flinches me. And I'm just like, I'm just going to stay in and go for the Paralyze until I get the Paralyze. This thing's not going to be able to kill me for a really long time, so odds are I'm probably, hopefully, be able to get Thunder Wave off. And I actually am on the second turn, which is pretty good for me. Unfortunate for him, but it was, I most likely probably could have gotten one off eventually. And so I switch into my Jellicent as he goes for his Air Slash, and he misses his Air Slash. And I'm going to go for the Taunt this turn to prevent him from, Thunder Waving me or going for more Roots. He gets paralyzed, but Jellicent can take an Air Slash from a Togekiss. Anyway, I switch back into my Mamoswine as he goes for another Air Slash, and it does a good chunk to my Mamoswine. Probably shouldn't have switched directly back into it, but whatever. So he goes for an Extreme Speed, and I'm going to go for an Ice Spears to take this thing out, and I get a critical hit on my second one, and I'm able to take it out with 3 Ice Spears. And so he brings into his Latias, and I wasn't confident of my Ice Shard killing at that range, because I know it's a bulky set due to the fact that it has Protect and Roar. You'll see that later. Actually, I think you'll see that right here when I go for I think I go for a power whip on this thing. Yeah, I go for power whip, trying to rack up damage on it because I haven't seen it used, Roost or anything yet, and so brings me back in my Mammoth Swine. Here I should have just straight up gone for the Ice Shard, but actually no, he protects him. I went for the Ice Shard here, and he protects, so I'm thinking he's going to switch back into his Ferrothorn to take the Ice Shard, because having his Latias on the field, having it die wouldn't be, that'd be pretty stupid of him. So I go for the superpower, and I overpredict, and he goes for the Roost and gets a lot of his HP back. And so now I know I still should have gone for the Ice Shard there. I'm not exactly sure why I switched out. I guess I was trying to save it for later. Anyway, he goes for the Protect and fails as I bring in my Jellicent, and I'm just going to taunt this thing so it can't Roost and Protect and Roar and stuff like that, so its only move is Dragon Pulse, which is pretty good. And so he protects as I go for a taunt. I'm going to go for the taunt again as he goes for the Dragon Pulse. And so I'm just trying to stall this Latias out as just trying to deal as much damage as I can with my Scald. So I go for Scald this turn as he brings in his turn. I originally thought this was probably a bad play on his part, and I'm actually surprised my Scald didn't KO. But actually, when I saw what he's going to do is he's going to set up his Stealth Rots, which will kill my Mammoth Swine upon switching on the switch in, which is a good play on his part. I kind of overlooked that, and allows him Latias to not be taunted anymore, which allows him to get off another Roost, bringing him back up to substantial amount of HP. But I just go for the taunt, so it's a battle of another kind of a stall here for a little bit as he Dragon Pulses, and I'm going to Scald, just trying to get as much damage on this thing as I can. And so I know I can take a lot of those Dragon Pulses because they're not doing that much to me, and I have recovered. But he gets a critical hit, and that breaks the stall way earlier than this could have gone on, which is kind of bad for him in an actual way, because this allows me to get a free switch into anything. I could have foddered out my Mammoth Swine there, but I wanted to save it for later for fodder for something else. So I'm able to switch into my Latias, and here I'm just going to go straight for the Draco Meteor, because I know that he couldn't, even if he did switch out, his Latias would have died upon switching back in with the burn and the Stealth Rock. So you switch out into Terrakion. I'm going to switch out and fodder out my Mammoth Swine this turn to see what Terrakion's going to lock himself into. And he locks himself into X-Scissor. And I have Psycho Shock, and I thought Psycho Shock would be able to KO, but unfortunately it does 93%, and he left with 1 HP and he's able to KO me back with X-Scissor. I was kind of like, oh, that's unfortunate. But I have my Lucario, and my Lucario has Extreme Speed, so I'm going to come in at Extreme Speed with Terrakion. He would have died if he had switched out, and I wasn't really too worried about the Ferrothorn, so he brings in his Ferrothorn. I'm worried about him paralyzing my Lucario, so I switch out and going to my Ferrothorn to paralyze his Ferrothorn, so to make sure that I'm faster than it, regardless, of whether it will paralyze me or not. So he's going to go for the Leech Seed, I guess predicting me to switch out, and I'm going to go for the Thunder Wave. And here I'm going to stay in and just wait for him to go for something like something that's not Leech Seed and something that's not paralyzed. So he goes for Leech Seed again. I protect. And here I think I'm just going to burn a turn by setting up Stealth Rocks again, even though they're set up already. I'm just trying to see him do something. So he sets up Spikes, and that was my cue to switch back out, because I'm figuring he was going to try to set up as many layers as he could. So I switched out into my Lucario. And he gets paralyzed, which is good for me, because if he could gone for Thunder Wave or Paralyze or something like for Leech Seed or the Paralysis, it would have been bad. But anyway, so he protects as I go for a Sword Stance and be able to KO with close combat, and that's the game. Thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, and as always, have a nice day. Yeah, peace out.